Hello, hello. Thank you all on the call and on the webinar for joining. My name is Michelle Noth-McCready, and I will be presenting on parent engagement, leading the way to better child care policies in your state. And this is one of many series of Thursday lunch and learns that we do at 12:30. We call them lunch and learns because on the East Coast it's lunchtime, but on the West Coast it may be your coffee or your breakfast in Learn. So thank you for joining us, for those of you in different time zones. And I want to be really clear about this is a fluid conversation. It's always hard when people are not in the room to answer questions or to know when to stop or pause. So the best we can do is that there's a chat box located on the side of your screen that says chat. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please chat in there, type in there, and I will do my best to address them. I also did leave some time at the end to address any questions that you all may have. The objectives for today's presentation are as follows. I wanted to talk about what parent advocates and parent leaders can do, how to build those state parent networks, what that looks like, the capacity of team building, policy maker outreach. Right now, we are about less than a week away from the Department of Health and Human Services have proposed a rule on strengthening child care policies, and the comment period ends Monday. So I wanted to make that a part of our conversation on how to get parents and organizations to comment on the rule. Discussion groups, so that's part of our question and answer at the end. And then making sure that everyone on the call has some tangible next steps to take into their communities and organizations on how to engage parents. All right, so the parent leaders. What are parent leaders and why do we have them? We need parent leaders to paint the picture for policymakers on why laws need to be strengthened. Without policymakers understanding the why, saying, oh my goodness, for example, child care is so expensive in my state, you know, it's unsafe, I don't have access to quality, I live in a rural setting, they're not going to be motivated to take action. And a picture is worth a million words, so having the data and the facts and the parents equipped to go to meet with other parents, to meet with policymakers, to meet with R&Rs, to meet with their communities at large, to talk and tell the story about why access to early learning and child care is important. Without that voice, the job won't get done. So making the connections. Parents, when we're looking at policies that affect children, we have to lean on the source. Parents are the advocates for children. They're the first teacher of the children, and they help shape the vision. They change the policy, and they also inspire and empower other parents to step up to the plate. So like I said, parents are the key ingredient. When you're looking at policymakers in Washington, they don't want to hear from me. I'm a parent, yes, I wear my parent hat, but when I wear my policymaker hat, they say, that's great that you can provide the research, but what's your story? I want to hear from the people in my district with the stories. And then there's a whole way that you can train and empower parents to become leaders. Here we have two different ways that we encourage. We have a Parents of Symposium program where we have about 16 to 20 parents every year come to Washington, D.C. Some of you have been a part of it on this call, to meet with the representatives. That's not going to happen for all the hundreds and hundreds of parent advocates that we have in the state. So how do you make it a real situation for the parents in your state? Do you, you're the vehicle to help set up meetings between policymakers. Maybe it's hosting a training in your state saying, here's how you use your voice box. And we'll talk a little bit about the tools to do that. But really, the two things to take away from the definition of parent leaders is that they are the key vehicle to changing policy, and train policy leaders on understanding and having buy-in to the mission that's essential. So we talk a little bit about parent teams and how do you build a parent team. I've looked at the models of how it's existed in the past, and how we're currently existing it, and then I also want to challenge you to think about what the model looks like in your organization, in your state, in your community. The who are parents, CCR&R staff, coalition partners, parent advocates, grandparents, aunts, uncles. Anybody who cares about children can be a part of this parent team. The what is to organize around strengthening access to quality child care for families. We know this is a crisis. We know it's an issue that parents can't afford it, they can't find it, but we don't know how to organize around making it better. Where is in your state, in your community, in your locality, whatever makes sense, whatever the team model that works for you is the where. And then the when is we are past the when. If we haven't done it already to engage parents, now is the time. And the why. Like I said before, it's great to have the R&R hat to talk to policymakers, the folks that work with the parents, the Washington, D.C. folks, and the national organizations. But what it really comes down to are the stories in their district of parents living the struggle of finding quality and affordable child care. So I wanted to also point out what we do here at the national organization, and our goal is to, through the state, the CCR&R and state networks, and through our public symposium, we want to provide support to build these teams. We do state advocacy trainings, but we also do a lot of online trainings, like, for example, what we're doing now. I think we've gotten some questions about when's the best time. Is it during session? Is it during a certain time of year when parents go back, when students go back to school? And it's the answer to that is all the time. And it's not that difficult. We'll talk about a little bit about how in a minute. But the key takeaway here is that we want to engage parents who are the consumer of child care all the time. We're always building our network. So now we'll go into the how. It seems like, how do I start to get a parent network? Parents are busy. I completely understand that. I personally am a mother of a 5-month-old, and if anything, I feel like there's not even 2 minutes in my day where I can do anything but be either at work or be a mother and, you know, a parent. But what is really important is to know that the stuff we're talking about is not that time-consuming. They can be a parent advocate, and you can inspire them to be without spending too much time trying to create a parent network. So the how is personal story sharing. If you know parents in your own network, if they come to you, if you're an R&R, if you know that they would be a good advocate, having them learning to share their story, having a one-on-one quick coffee grab with them when you have a chance over lunch, organizational meetings. If your agency's having a back-to-school night or any type of event, inviting parents to come and having a piece of your organizational night be about parent engagement. Similar to the PTA model, the Parent-Teacher Association model. There's parents that care about their children that are stepping up in leadership roles. We need to do the same model for child care. Relationship and coalition building, I just talked a little bit about that, but looking at other folks in your communities, doing a survey and assessment of where and how we can strengthen our numbers with existing organizations. Maybe United Way cares about children or after-school programs, but building that network of coalition really helps strengthen the voice. Social media organizing and messaging, that's incredibly important. I talked about the life of a busy parent. The key takeaway here is that's not that hard to do. You can take action on Facebook. You can take action online. And it's one of those things that you can do quickly. A lot of parents, we know the average age of a parent is 25, and we know the average age of a Facebook consumer is around that same age. And so we want to make sure that we meet parents where they're at, that they know that they can take action just by sharing a post on Facebook. We have a lot of lunch and learns on Facebook and Twitter and other social media vehicles that parents can use that are not that time-consuming. And to be rapid responders. If there's a press request or if there's a state budget cut to child care, having that network already built and grown will really help. So parents personal story goes across all those pillars. It builds the capacity. It brings in more parents. It talks to policymakers. This is huge because there's no other, there's not a better voice as the parents that are living and breathing the story to talk to policymakers. And it also can be shared on social media. I'm having this challenge with childcare. Where do I go? Here's the link. What can I do about it? Here's a reauthorization bill that strengthens childcare, etc. Okay, so sharing your story is a key component of learning how to be a parent advocate. You want, when you're training parents to share their story with policymakers, you want to make sure that they give the background of what their experience is. Then to highlight that challenge, and then to provide tangible next steps about how to solve the problem. Without these three components, policymakers won't get a full grasp of what actually is going on. The background. I live in a rural area and have a really hard time finding quality childcare in the hours that I need it for. So you give a little bit of the background. The rural area, we are a two-person, we have 2 children. You know, you paint the picture to really explain how expensive it is. The challenge is the access, the affordability challenge. And then the next step is saying, you know, we really need to reauthorize the Child Care Development Block Grant. So access for quality care is, we raise the bar. Okay, and we just also want to highlight some of the ways we've engaged parents and to make that story come to life. And what that is, what we do in that regard is we make these parent one-pagers. So if you look at the screen, one of our wonderful parent advocates, her name is Ellie Laskin, and she is lives in Virginia. And we, on the side of her one-pager, we talk about the challenges with the child care situation in Virginia. We then go and talk about her story under the picture of her daughter and how unsafe sleeping, her lack of access to quality care, and how a background check could have prevented her from placing that child in a family child care home. Because of all those things not being provided, they had an overwhelming tragedy happen. And then we make at the bottom child care policy recommendations, like I talked about, never leaving a meeting with a policymaker or with anyone without giving them a next step to do. So these I want to highlight are on our website. I'll show you where to get them. I know I'm running through. There's a lot of material here, and I don't see any questions yet. But oh, I did get one. I'll do my best to slow down the presentation. It's a lot to fit in half an hour, so thank you for flagging. Somebody flagged that. It's going a little bit quick. Okay, so we just looked at Florida, for example, but why statewide parent teams? And this, again, we're going back to the why. It empowers parents to take action. It spreads the strengths. Not one solo person can do this. And it also builds a community. I talked a little bit about the PTA having a large, strong voice. It's a good model to look at. We need something like that on a smaller scale for parent advocates with children from birth to 5 or children in after-school care to really step up to the plate. So what does that actually look like? There's a lot of why, but what could an actual model look like in your state? We have this is based on Marshall Gans, is a professor at Harvard University, and he talks about community organizing and community building in different facets, like for the civil rights movement, for the farm and union mobilization in the 70s. And this model he really has mastered. It's called the snowflake model. And what it is an idea. This one is a sample of how a team, how a model can look in your community related to child care. So we have the CCR&R and parent leader in the middle. That's the core, but then they can't do all the work by themselves, so they recruited other state parent leaders, that's what the SPLs are, that help recruit other parents, that write letters to the editor. That team really is focused on that there's a social media team, and then there's folks that really like to meet with policymakers, and maybe they could take the lead. So this is kind of one of those fully functioning models that works for different communities. We talked a little bit about rapid response and why that's important. We want to make sure that parent leaders are at the ready to respond before the request comes down the pike. So how do you build that team of parent leaders before there's a budget cut proposed, or before there's a press request or something major that happens? How do you have that? And the three different areas are, you want to make sure that the parents that are in your group are participating in training and coalitions. Anytime you have one, always invite parents to build a parent chain. Have parents call other parents and say, you want to be a part of this team? We're working towards better quality child care in our state. And then to keep, the third thing is to keep aware, keeping up to date on current child care news, and making sure that if there's different issues in the budget, if parents, if you have a newsletter, for example, if you can create one, making sure to add parents to that so they can say, oh, wow, I didn't know this was being cut in my state. I didn't know child care slots were up for debate in the budget. I want to make sure to act on that. So keeping up to date on current child care news is really important to be a rapid response parent leader. We have two different parent newsletters that we send out. Parent Connection, which is kind of a connect for early childhood and child care issues on the Hill, what's going on the Hill. And then also Parent Central. This last month we had Kids in Cars to raise the heat awareness, making sure that kids aren't left behind in child care vehicles, but also in personal vehicles. So Parent Central is a newsletter about the topical issue, and Parent Connection is that easy to digest one-pager about what's going on federally around child care. So when I get to our website, I will show you where to sign up for that. Also, I talked a little bit about what you can do online and on media. This is a sample action alert that, for example, asks parents to co-sponsor legislation to require background checks for child care providers. And only 10 states require a comprehensive check, and it goes through the different points. And parents can quickly and easily take action, send a letter. They're already drafted, and they can add in their own taste and flavor to it. But it's a very simple step in order to be a parent advocate. So our resources, which I'll get to the link in a second, are our webinars, our e-newsletters, our social media, and our action alerts. And all these things are really accessible to parents, and they can be a piece of that snowflake model I talked about by taking one of these things and owning it. Okay, so before I get to, I wanted to point out two different major pieces of legislation that are coming through. The first one, with the comments that are due on August 5th, this is major because it's an historic opportunity to comment on the state of child care. And here on our website, if you go to usa.childcareaware.org, is where you'll find it. Oops. And a lot of you still go to NACRA.org. It's a little bit shorter, and it still directs you there. But under, I'll just take you, if you're usa.childcareaware.org or if you're NACRA.org, we still link to the same thing. This is under our public policy section, and under our advocacy campaigns, you can find the different campaigns we have going on, the Reauthorize the Child Care and Development Block Grant, the background check campaign, and just Don't Cut Child Care for state campaign. You'll see all that there along with our coalition. The other place that I talked about is our Action and Information Center, and that's where you can send that quick alert to your representative. And now I'll show you the where to comment and where the resources around the Health and Human Services proposed rule are. under policy issues. And then on the side here, it's core policy issues. This one's a little bit more digging. But this is all about the new HHS rule. So if you're curious about it and you want to comment, please go to coreissues.usa.childcare.org and you will get there. I want to point this out because, again, the comments are due August 5th, and it's really important that you encourage parents and your organizations to make comments. We, in this section, have our sample comments right here where it says new, sample comments for the proposed rule that we encourage you to use as a framework and make them and customize them to fit your state. And then also, we have a ton of other resources on the proposed rule. A lot of you have joined our Lunch and Learn series to go over and highlight the differences of the rule. And if you haven't, we have them recorded under our policy webinars. So I'm still on the page trying to make sure everyone knows where to find the stuff I'm talking about. Then the other place I wanted to point out is the Federal Register. The easiest place to find it is, honestly, if you do a Google search, because I have the link up here and it's pretty long, but if you do a Google search of federalregister.gov CCDF, you'll get to that link. So federalregister.gov CCDF, and this is where you can make your you can comment on the ACF proposed rule for the CCDF regulations. So I know that was a lot of information in one. That's why I wanted to make sure that that you all on the call know that our whole team is here to help. Our policy crew helps with event preparation. They help collect stories and to train parents on how to tell their story. And for any policy-related questions, like we went through a lot of resources, a lot of different philosophies, and I know we only have a half an hour, and a lot of the stuff can't be absorbed in a half an hour. So we really do want to let you know that we're here for supporting you all and building your parent engagement efforts. And with that, I wanted you to all, you're challenged with answering these questions. What can you do to engage parents in your state, and what gets them to join a network? How does that look? And what motivates them and to get their friends and other parents that they know to join? And then the third thing is, what can you do to help raise visibility about the need for affordable quality childcare? This was all about parents need to be that voice to help raise that awareness, but what does that look like in your own roadmap on parent engagement? So with those questions for you all, I wanted to make sure I get to any questions you have for me. I didn't see any come in besides, oh, here's some, okay. So one of the questions is, how does this help for affordable child care costs? Reauthorization of CCDBG has funding, but it will not last till 2015. What else can we do? Excellent, excellent question. Even though we have some of the proposed child care development block grant, that is going to substantially increase the quality of child care for parents to know that their children are safe, that their training is better, that there's inspection. We all know that. But going forward, that's just going to set the bar for accessing quality child care. In the meantime, what you all can do, what parents will help, especially in different states, is when you build relationship with policymakers, when you have this this parent network, you have skin in the game, I like to say, and like for example, the governors will know that they can come to you when they're looking at budgets. When budgets are getting tight, they can add money to child care. They can decrease those waiting lists. They can provide, they can make sure that children aren't the first thing cut in their priority list. We're seeing a lot of governors and local and state policymakers say they care about children, but that children's programs are the first to go when the budget gets tight. So building these relationships, having that skin in the game is something that you can do now to make sure that there's access to quality child care. I know that was kind of a not specific issue, but it's really the number one thing that we've seen successful when budgets are tight. And as we all know, that's across the nation, not just federally. Child care advocates have spoken up that their programs do not go away. Okay, let's see. Okay, I don't have any more questions right now, and I'm sure it wasn't that clear. So if you guys have questions coming up that you didn't think of now but want to address in the future, please email me. I'm going to provide that right here. My email is michelle.mccready@usa.childcareaware.org. And let me pull this for everyone on the call. Please email me. We are happy to help with anything related to policy, building a parent network, or any questions you may have. And if you think of something that I didn't discuss right now, or if you would like to have some resources, you will be getting a copy of this PowerPoint, the slides, and our parent leader manual to help you all build your advocacy networks in your state. So with that, thanks again. I will leave my email up here, and please feel free to reach out. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Take care.